Now, speaking of the US president, 1 year into Donald Trump's second term, his presidency is defined by pressure without permanence, from tariffs and trade threats to fragile ceasefires abroad and strong enforcement at home. Trump has projected control, but durable outcomes still remain elusive. So has power been applied or progress even achieved? We break it down for you.
Trump do solemnly swear.
US President Donald Trump has completed 1 year of his second term. And here's what shaped his foreign policy, one that's driven less by doctrine, but more by impulse. Even a mix of tariffs, threats, deals, and sudden declarations of victory. Tariffs have remained Trump's primary economic weapon. Trump relaunched an aggressive tariff strategy, not just against China, but also against traditional allies like India. He used tariffs as economic tools to add political pressure. While the Trump administration argues that the tariff policy has reduced the US trade deficits, the broader impact has been higher costs, retaliatory measures, and strained alliances, leaving long-term gains uncertain for Washington. In the Middle East, Trump authorized airstrikes that degraded air defense systems but stopped short of targeting Iran's missile program. And even though he was quick to declare that the conflict was over, the US intelligence assessments paint a different picture. That Iran's missile capability remains largely intact and testing continues, with the possibility of a fresh conflict with Iran already on the horizon. This as the US could strike Iran should the regime continue its violent suppression of protesters, with Tehran threatening counterstrikes at American bases across the Middle East. The result? Escalation without resolution.
In a year, we made 8 peace deals and ended the war in Gaza. We have peace in the Middle East. Nobody thought that was going to be possible.
In Gaza, Trump again positioned himself as a deal maker. Ceasefires were pushed through, fighting paused, and Trump claimed credit for restoring calm. But as we all know, the region is reduced to fragile truces rather than durable peace as of now. Will the Trump-led Gaza Board of Peace be able to achieve reconstruction of war-torn Gaza? That too without lasting peace remains to be seen. In fact, Trump's claims of ending the Ukraine war within just 24 hours only because of his personal rapport with Russian President Putin was a bubble that burst soon after his arrival in the White House. Trump and the US VP J.D. Vance's White House spat with Ukraine's President Zelensky grabbed international headlines. So much so, Trump's approach to Ukraine has swung dramatically from accusing President Zelensky of corruption, dictatorship, and ingratitude to pausing military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine. Even a proposal on complex peace deals and rare mineral agreements that Ukraine has largely accepted, but Russia continues to avoid. The NATO's view is that why should they and Ukraine pay the cost when it is Russia that is the aggressor since its 2022 invasion and escalating attacks on civilians. Trump maintains that Moscow seeks peace and wants Ukraine to succeed, but many have raised questions about his understanding of the war and its moral dynamics. And yet, Donald Trump feels his good friend Vladimir Putin will take over Greenland, because he has raised Russia and China as two threats to the security of Greenland and subsequently to the US. Casting the island as a strategic and economic asset, Trump even floated tariffs to force negotiations with his NATO allies. A move that displayed Trump's brand of transactional politics. In Latin America, the most dramatic move came in Venezuela. The administration carried out its most high-profile intervention, the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. It was a headline-grabbing moment that left behind a strategic vacuum. The result, a fractured regime, sanctions stay in place, and with little clarity by Washington on what's next for Venezuela. Moreover, Trump has made repeated claims on ending multiple wars in the year gone by, even claiming that he mediated between India and Pakistan. But in practice, many of these conflicts have been frozen, not finished, mostly paused by pressure, rather settled by agreement. To put simply, Trump's foreign policy in the last year has reflected force without follow-through, with outcomes that remain incomplete. On the domestic front, Trump's focus was largely on order enforcement and spectacle. Immigration has been the clearest priority. Border crossings have declined sharply under expanded patrols and stricter controls, allowing the administration to claim operational success. Yet, inside the country, intensified enforcement and ICE raids have triggered legal challenges, even public backlash. Deportations have risen, but not at transformative levels, leaving immigration policy caught between political messaging and administrative limits. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, was launched with promises of lean governance and fiscal discipline. Instead, abrupt restructuring disrupted federal agencies, spending continued to rise, and the department was prematurely dismantled. What was meant to symbolize reform highlighted the difficulty of imposing efficiency through force rather than consensus. Legal migration has fared no better. Skilled worker pathways, including H-1B visas, remain constrained by tighter scrutiny and shifting rules. While the administration frames this as protection for American labor, businesses warn of talent shortages, exposing the tension between economic needs and nationalist policy instincts. Economically, the picture is mixed. Growth rebounded in 2025 and markets remained strong, but inflation in the US economy persisted, employment softened, and tariffs blurred the line between free market economics and state intervention. Taken together, Trump's domestic agenda has reflected authority without alignment, decisive actions that project control, but policies that struggle to translate momentum into lasting structural change.